So let's start with a question that could honestly change every difficult conversation you have from here on out. Are you showing up to prove a point, or are you there to learn something? It sounds simple, but that single choice, well, it's at the very heart of how we understand communication itself.
We've all been there, right? An argument just completely goes off the rails, and we immediately start replaying our choice of words, or we think, oh, my logic must have been flawed. But what if the problem isn't what we're saying at all? What if the real issue is something much deeper, something happening inside our own bodies?
Think about it. The last time a simple discussion suddenly turned into a full-blown argument. You probably felt like you were being perfectly reasonable, yet somehow the whole thing just spiraled out of control. The reason for that escalation, it turns out, isn't found in the words you used, but in your internal state.
And this brings us right to the core of the issue, this conflict between the words we say and our internal physiological state. Let's completely reframe how we look at these communication breakdowns.
So, traditionally, we see miscommunication as a word problem. We just assume that logic is in the driver's seat. But the reality is, it's almost always a state problem. This means our nervous system's response to a perceived threat can totally hijack our ability to communicate. And it happens long before we even open our mouths.
To really get a handle on these states, we can use a pretty powerful model called the internal traffic light. Now, this framework, which is based on traffic light processing, helps us map out our nervous system's capacity for connection and communication at any given moment. First up is the green state. When you're in green, your nervous system is regulated. Your prefrontal cortex, that's the bit of your brain responsible for rational thought and empathy, is fully online. This is the sweet spot, the optimal state for learning, for curiosity, and for genuine connection.
But then there's the orange state. This is a state of heightened alert. Here, your brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, starts to get active. Rational thought gets pushed aside by threat logic, and your whole goal shifts from learning something to proving you are right.
And if that perceived threat keeps up, you can slip into the red state. At this point, your nervous system is just overwhelmed. This is a state of high threat response, where any kind of productive, reasonable conversation becomes nearly impossible.
So, just recognizing these states is a huge first step. The next, and this is crucial, is to adopt a mindset that allows us to manage them. This shift in thinking is the absolute key to finding a way forward.
This quote from Jefferson Fisher just captures it perfectly. It's the essential difference between a productive conversation and a destructive one. It really highlights that fundamental choice we make. Are we going into this with curiosity, or are our defenses already up? And here you can see that direct link between your state and your mindset. In the green state, you're all about learning and curiosity, which actually helps stabilize your whole system. But in the orange state, your mindset shifts to proving. Threat logic takes the wheel, and that's what so often leads to escalation.
Okay, so what's the practical solution here? It comes down to a simple but really profound principle. You have to prioritize regulation before you can ever hope to find a resolution. You know, there's a physiological reason why taking a break during an argument actually works. It's because it gives your nervous system time to downshift out of that orange or red state. That pause allows what's called your vagal brake, a set of nerves that calms the body, to re-engage, which brings your rational brain back online.
So how do we put this into practice? It's basically 4 steps. First, recognize your state. If you feel that defensiveness creeping in, you're likely in orange. Second, create time and space. Just pause the conversation to prevent overload. Third, allow your system to downshift and regulate itself. And finally, only re-engage when you're truly back in the green state and ready to learn again.
Ultimately, the goal isn't to find the perfect words to win an argument when you're in an orange state. It's to do the work to get back to green. Because when you try again, that next conversation doesn't work because you got smarter or found a better argument. It works because the color of your internal traffic light has changed.